Matthew 21:18-22. The fig tree. In Matthew 21:18-22, the narrative presents a striking sign performed by Jesus during the final days before the climactic events that would soon unfold in Jerusalem. The text begins, "Now in the morning, as he returned to the city, he became hungry. And seeing a fig tree by the road, he came to it and found nothing on it but leaves, and said to it, 'Let no fruit grow on you ever again.' Immediately, the fig tree withered away." This event occurs in the final week of Jesus' earthly ministry. The setting is Jerusalem during the days leading up to the Passover. The Lord had entered the city as the promised king, and in the surrounding passages, he had already cleansed the temple, confronting the religious establishment that presided over Israel's worship. The fig tree is not a random detail. Throughout the Hebrew scriptures, the fig tree often functioned as a symbol of the nation of Israel. The prophets frequently used the imagery of vines and fig trees to describe the covenant people. For example, in Hosea 9:10, Israel is compared to the first ripe fruit on the fig tree. Likewise, Micah and Jeremiah use similar imagery when describing Israel's spiritual condition. The tree Jesus encountered had leaves but no fruit. Leaves indicated the appearance of life and productivity, yet the absence of fruit revealed the true condition of the tree. This imagery parallels the spiritual state of the covenant nation at that time. The temple still stood, the sacrifices continued, the priesthood functioned. Outwardly, the structures of covenant religion appeared intact, yet the very one to whom those institutions pointed had arrived, and the leaders rejected him. The fig tree therefore becomes a living parable. It embodied the condition of a system that displayed religious activity, yet lacked the fruit that God sought. When Jesus pronounced the judgment, "Let no fruit grow on you ever again," the tree immediately withered. Matthew emphasizes the immediacy of the event. What normally would take time happened instantly. The disciples noticed this and asked, "How did the fig tree wither away so soon?" The sign pointed beyond the tree itself. It signified the coming end of the old covenant order centered in Jerusalem and the temple. For generations, the prophets had warned that unfaithfulness would lead to judgment. Now the Messiah himself stood in the city, announcing that the season of that covenant administration was drawing to its close. Within that generation, the temple would fall, the sacrificial system would cease, and the structures that had defined Israel's national worship would pass away. The withered fig tree served as a prophetic sign of that approaching transition. Yet Jesus' response to the disciples focuses not on judgment, but on faith. "Assuredly, I say to you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but also if you say to this mountain, 'Be removed and be cast into the sea,' it will be done." In biblical language, mountains often symbolized kingdoms or covenantal systems. In the prophetic literature, the removal of a mountain signified the downfall of an established order. Jesus spoke these words within sight of the Temple Mount itself, the center of Israel's religious authority. The disciples would soon participate in a mission that proclaimed the arrival of God's kingdom and the completion of redemption through the Messiah. Through their proclamation, the message of the fulfilled work of Christ would go throughout the world, announcing that righteousness was no longer mediated through temple sacrifices or priestly rituals, but through the completed work of the Son. The authority Jesus described was connected to that unfolding transition in redemptive history. The apostles would speak with divine authority as witnesses of the risen Christ, declaring the reality of the kingdom that had arrived. Jesus then concludes, "And whatever things you ask in prayer, believing, you will receive." Throughout the gospel accounts, the works of Jesus demonstrate the sufficiency of his mission. He came not merely to teach, but to accomplish redemption. The signs surrounding his ministry, healings, miracles, and prophetic acts, such as the withering of the fig tree, revealed that the long-awaited promises given through the law and the prophets were reaching their fulfillment. The fig tree stood as a visible testimony that the age of shadows was fading. The substance had arrived in the person of Christ. What the temple symbolized, he embodied. What the sacrifices anticipated, he accomplished. Thus, Matthew presents this moment not merely as a miracle, but as a sign announcing that the era of anticipation was giving way to the reality brought by the Messiah.